AI Biden, Butthurt Montel Williams, and the identity politics platform. This is a propaganda report's Brad Binkley is what it is. I was almost gonna say drive time news blast, falling into the old intro script, but I did stop myself. Thought I'd do a late night show tonight because there's just such crazy news going on, and I'm going to cover some of it and make fun of a little bit of it. Please let the ads play if you're not listening on one of these subscription platforms. If you'd like to, we don't get anything if you don't let the ads play, and it helps us out a lot if you do. If you want to have the ads removed, I take all the ads out for subscribers. You can go to patreon.com/propaganda report. Okay. Top story continues to be, where's Joe Biden? After announcing on Sunday that he's dropping out of the race and endorsing Cum Queenla, the country was left wondering why the president would make such a historic announcement on the X platform, of all places, and when he would officially talk to the country face to face like a man on camera to tell us everything's going to be okay, even though he dropped out of the race and he can't handle the rest of his term. And these questions continued to linger into Monday morning with no answers and still no Joe. And people began to do what people do when nobody's filling in the blanks. Speculate. Speculate we did, as a growing number of people wondered on social media, myself included, if Joe might be sicker than we had been led to believe. By midday, these speculations had grown into outright demands, not just from X users, but from lawmakers in D.C. for proof of life. Show us proof of life. Show us something. Show him eating ice cream in bed. Show him sleeping, but definitely breathing. Anything. Show him hogtied in Doug Emhoff's pleasure chamber. Just give us some sort of proof of life. This is how desperate X was. Midday, yesterday, today, depending on where you are, it was reaching a point where it felt like MTG and Lauren Boebert and everyone on X were all going to get together and put a search party together and go find his ass themselves, up until we finally got what everybody had been asking for: proof of life. Or did we? Because the form of proof of life that was given to us was not exactly what everyone had in mind. Maybe you're looking for some sort of outdoor event where it cannot easily be deep faked, but it seems like it's the president or one of his doubles or whatever, just something where we see and hear and can then evaluate. But we didn't even get to see the president. What we got was, we got Joe Biden in on a speakerphone on somebody's cell phone to Kamala's first rally, the first rally she has had since Joe stepped down, her big rally. Joe calling in. Everybody's going crazy on X for proof of life, which they say is a crazy thing to say. The media does. And what they show us is Joe Biden on somebody's cell phone, which is exactly the kind of certainty that a nation needs to have from its commander-in-chief when many are genuinely unsure if he's still alive. A phone call. That's all we need, is a phone call from Biden. Even though his handlers in the White House knew good and well what many who heard that would do, is they wouldn't see that as confirmation that he's okay, obviously, and they know that people would see it as potentially some sort of trick to cover up the fact that he's not okay, and that maybe he's not even with us, according to some people, and that is just an AI voice of him to try and convince us otherwise. We have an AI president, maybe some people think. Now, maybe they do that to mess with us. Maybe they're genuinely trying to cover it up. I can't imagine they did not expect this reaction. It's such an obvious reaction to that. Setting all of the things aside about the assassination story, Trump putting his fist in the air it did make the people in the crowd and people in many bars, you can see videos, it did make them release that energy of, oh, he's okay. It didn't leave them uncertain. This is totally continuing to leave people uncertain about Biden's well-being by doing this instead of putting him on camera. So is it AI, the phone call, or is it Joe Biden or whoever is playing Joe Biden? You be the judge. I will play it. All right, here we go. What's up, Nate? Where in the world is Biden? San Diego, says Nate. That's funny. What's up, Denver? What's up, Steve? Let me get this up here. All right. So, hold on. 1 second here. Joe Biden calls in to the. That's it. I mean, imagine that headline. Joe Biden calls in. Wow. All right. So here it is. I don't know who this lady is. She kind of sounds like Kamala, actually. But.
Mr. President, thank you for calling in today. Over to you.
Julie, if I didn't have COVID, I'd be sitting there with you, standing there with you. I'm so proud of what you've all done. But this COVID keeping me out of people's hair for the next 3 or 4 days. But I'm going to be on the road, and I'm not going anywhere. It's kept me away a little bit, but I want people to remember that what we have done has been incredible, and we get so much more we're going to get done. And so I want to say hello to Kamala if she can hear me. I know she's going to be speaking shortly. And I want to say to the team, embrace her. She's the best. I want to call today to thank everybody in this effort. I know yesterday's news was surprising, and it was hard for you to hear, but it was the right thing to do. I know it's hard because you poured your heart and soul into me to help us win this thing, help me get this nomination, help me win the nomination, and then go on to win the presidency. But
So, first thoughts is he is having the struggling Biden finding your sentence tone thus far, but AI, perhaps, I mean, we've been told can mimic this kind of thing.
You're an amazing team, but we've got a great, I think we made the right decision. I know how hard you've worked, how many sacrifices you made.
Shut up.
And so many of you uprooted your lives for me, and the kind of commitments few people make for anything these days, but you made it. And I've been honored and humbled. I mean this from the bottom of my heart. My word is a Biden, that for all you've done for me and my family. And we built the.
I love how she's getting on her cell phone, texting somebody saying, shut him up or turn this thing off. I love that line, my word is a Biden. He always uses that. No, that's that's like the last thing anybody should say, my word is a Biden. Oh, you mean I can't trust anything you say? All right.
Best campaign in organization in history. I've been doing this. I always kid and say, I know I'm only 40, but I've been around a long time. I don't know of a better campaign organization, grassroots campaign. We have over 230 offices opened. We have over 2,000 paid staff, and we have literally several thousand volunteers on a regular basis, thousands of them. And they've been relentless and tireless in reaching out and contacting voters. The leadership of this campaign has been amazing. Jen O'Malley, Dillon, Julie, Quinn, Michael Tyler, Rob Flaherty, Rufus on raising money, and so many more. You built this team. You brought them together. You brought us together. You've inspired them, and you've done what leaders do. Now we got to, the name has changed at the top of the ticket, but the mission hasn't changed at all. And by the way, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be out there in the campaign with her, with Kamala. I'm going to be working like hell. Both as a sitting president, getting legislation passed, as well as in campaigning. What we still need to save this democracy. And Trump is still a danger to the community. He's a danger to the nation. And just ask my foreign policy colleagues, my counterparts, and other people around the world and at home. Look,
I mean, I have to say, with this kind of energy that Biden has right now, maybe let's get him back in the race. I mean, he sounds really sharp right now. If this were an interview that Biden were doing, they'd be like, he nailed it. Look how much energy he has in his international policy. He's so smart.
So I'm hoping you'll give every bit of your heart and soul that you gave to me to Kamala. And I want you to know, I won't be on the ticket, but I'm still going to be fully engaged.
It's going to be the shower.
I've got 6 months left in my presidency. I'm determined to get as much done as I possibly can, both foreign policy and domestic policy. Keep lowering costs for families, continue to speak out on guns and child care, elder care, prescription drugs, and climate. Climate still is the existential threat that we face.
If we don't
win this thing, it's all in jeopardy. And we got to keep working for an end to the war in Gaza. I'll be working very closely with the Israelis and with the Palestinians to try to work out how we can get the Gaza war to end and Middle East peace and get all those hostages home. I think we're on the verge of being able to do that. And we got to keep our alliances together. It's critically important. It took a while for me to build these alliances. Most of my colleagues have acknowledged that, but it's critically important for our safety and security.
So it sounds edited, that part of it, because the way that you can hear his saliva, it sounds like it was run through what's that program called that people use? Audacity. It sounds like it was run through Audacity to me.
No, I'll be doing whatever Kamala wants me or needs me to do in addition. So let me be real clear. We're still fighting in this fight together. I'm not going anywhere. And I want you to know you've always had my back. And I promise you, I will always have your back. And I'm anxious for you all to hear from Kamala. So thank you, Julie. You're the best.
Okay. So, I hadn't noticed that switch that Denver, you pointed out there the first time I listened. I only listened to the beginning of it. It does sound pre-recorded to me. I think that it's him. I think they pre-recorded it and edited it, and then I think they did have him, because I watched her whole thing, and they had the phone open and he's responding. Here, I'll let you hear some of it. He's responding the entire time. He's kind of interjecting with stupid stuff, which I know AI can do that. You can actually have an AI program up and you can type stuff. So I know that is also possible. So it doesn't necessarily prove anything that he's responding in real time. But so this is Kamala's. I tried to skip past her obnoxious intro where they're going, Kamala. I might have caught a little bit of it, but you can see her get a little pissed off passive aggressively that Joe or AI Joe won't shut up.
Thank you, guys. Thank you all. Thank you. Can we just give it up again for my husband?
We've never had sex.
It is so good to hear our president's voice. Joe, I know you're still on the call, and we've been talking every day. You guys heard it from Doug's voice. We love Joe and Jill. We really do. They truly are like family to us.
Yeah.
And we do. Everybody here
They
does.
shower together. That's
It's mutual.
There he is.
I knew you were still there. You're not going anywhere, Joe.
I'm watching you, kid. I love you.
I love you, Joe.
Okay, so that was weird to me. Did that sound different to you guys than the recording earlier? That sounded to me like it was somebody who was on a microphone in the background, like sitting on behind the screen. It sounded different to me. And there's a lot of people that can do impersonations, but she even kind of, and maybe she's looking at the speaker.
So, Joe, I'm going to recognize some of the electeds who are here, and then I'm going to get back to you. Hold on a second. So let me please acknowledge some extraordinary.
So Yeah, and Joe kind of pops in here and there. At first I thought it's Joe, but now I'm questioning. Now I feel like it could be a combination of a recording of Joe and maybe like a Biden impersonator or something. But I can't prove any of that. I don't know. Well, I give my word as a Biden. Yeah. So like, here's the thing about this stuff here is why would people wonder if Joe is alive or if an AI Biden was being used to maybe make people think he's okay when he's not, which they call crazy. But it's their fault that people do this, because we spent the past few years with them convincing people how great AI is and how it can mimic it could get all the data and voices off, it could scrape it all and it could recreate it and sound almost indistinguishable. And after propagating this narrative for years, when Biden makes this historic decision on X through a letter that people question the signature of, and then when people want to see that he's still alive, that an ailing old man is still even alive, they don't give proof of life. They give a very shady audio phone call that sounds different at different parts of it. And then when people go, maybe that's not actually Biden, they say that we're crazy. In fact, they say that we're not crazy. They say that we're deranged, that it's a deranged conspiracy theory to even suggest that an alien president, the oldest one we've ever had, who's very obviously sick that they covered up for a while, might be sicker than they tell us. And look at this headline from the New Republic. Lauren Boebert, make that smaller. You guys can see that. All right. Lauren Boebert, there she is. There she is, showing the size of the D she likes to take. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd go see Beetlejuice with Boebert. I'm not going to lie. Lauren Boebert pushes MAGA's most deranged conspiracy on Biden. The most deranged conspiracy on Biden. It then says Republicans are losing their minds now that Joe Biden has dropped out of the 2024 race. Is that true? Are Republicans losing their minds that Biden did something that probably most Republicans and anybody who's not a brainwashed progressive thought he should do a long time ago and expected him to do? But they're losing their minds, and it's leading them to come up with deranged conspiracies that that he might actually be sicker than they tell us. We live in a country where one of the few things that we know is true is that the media and our government, the White House, covers up the ailing health of our presidents. That is what has happened time and time again. But it's deranged to think that this media, which has done this, covered up for Biden the past 4 years, his declining health, might be covering up for his declining health again. What a deranged, twisted thing to do, you sick bastards. The article then says, let me get down here. And they're not talking about the AI stuff in this article. They're just talking about the demanding the proof of life. It says that, hold on a second. It says that in reality, down here at the bottom, there's all the signatures that people looked at. I looked at some of that yesterday. The signature did look like his, in my opinion. I thought that was a stretch. But you can get somebody who is sick to sign something, who has dementia, and then they might forget about it. So I think they probably got the signature, and as soon as they got it, they posted it, baby, so that there'd be no takebacks. No takebacks, baby. Okay, so in reality, the article says Biden has been isolating. So this New Republic spends this entire article talking about how deranged it is to suggest that Biden is sicker than they tell us. And then it explains what the reality is to us, because it knows what the reality is. And they say in reality, Biden has been isolating in his vacation home in Delaware after being diagnosed with COVID last week, while the decision to make his announcement withdrawing from the race via social media is unusual. Unusual, they say. Perhaps he hasn't wanted to make any formal announcements or press conferences from a beach house while sick. Oh, so now they're speculating. This seems like wild, deranged speculating to me. That is there. We know that you're deranged because perhaps Joe just didn't want to make this announcement while sick with COVID at his beach house in Delaware. This is my problem with all debunking of anything, whether it's conspiracy theorists or the mainstream media fact checkers, anybody, any of us, speculating to debunk speculating. Well, maybe he just didn't want to look sick. He always looks sick. It's not like he's like, oh, I don't look good. My face looks weird. I'm tired. No, Biden always looks like he has dementia and is about to croak. He has walking croak face. I thought he was going to fall down in the debate. I thought we were going to come back from commercial and either Tapper or Dana Bush giving him CPR. And he kept wobbling during that press conference he did. I mean, it's not like Biden's got, he's well past his days of having like, oh, a good hair day. Okay. He used to be a good looking guy when he was younger. I'll give him that. But the man has been elder abused for too long. So why would that matter? Like, who cares? In the announcement Sunday, he said, according to this article, that he would address the nation later this week. But regardless of all of this obviousness, conservatives are posting out of any concern for the president. They aren't posting out of any concern for the president, is what they're saying. So now they're mind reading. How do they know? How do they know that there aren't posts? I'm concerned for him. I don't like Biden, but I posted because I feel like there are conditions that he has based on what they have reported. Of course, none of that might be true. But from my history with family members of mine, it raised alarm bells. And not everybody knows what these things are unless they've experienced some of it. And so my concern was, does his family know what some of these conditions might lead to? So how do they know people are just posting out of malice? They don't. This is a brainwashed writer is what this is. This is not somebody who's just a propagandist. This is somebody who's drinking the Kool-Aid, in my opinion. And then they wrap up this stupid article with Republicans are still going nuts trying to process Biden's decision. Every conservative had to sit their ass down and they got hit in the gut and process that decision. That's why they're going nuts. It has nothing to do with the past 4 years of gaslighting and our country's history of covering up presidential illness. And look, they're right, okay? They're right. Obviously, what's reasonable is deranged, and what's deranged is reasonable. I mean, is Lizzo not a sex symbol? Don't answer that. The last thing I need to hear from any of you is that every red-blooded cis hetero man in the country doesn't get super horny every time they see Lizzo. I don't want to hear anybody trying to gaslight me and say that you're not rock hard whenever Lizzo is playing the flute, which is why I hesitate to tell you guys, you conspiracy theorists, that just a few hours after this story came out, it was published, or news broke, that Biden had canceled 9 trips. He canceled 9 trips and a 2-week West Coast events that he had scheduled, and that he would be extending his stay in Delaware. So I don't want anybody thinking that might be because of his declining health and his dementia. Obviously, it's not. It's not. Nothing surprises me anymore. I'm going to get to the comments in a second. I'm trying my new screen out, and it covers some of them up, so I don't mean to miss some of them. I will check out what you guys are saying in a second. Steve says the whole thing is deranged, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. Denver says, I give you my word. Yeah, got to that one. But isn't it kind of like almost impressive the balls they have after 4 years, maybe longer, of covering up Biden's health concerns. And then they set him up during this debate to showcase, I think I might have a theory related to that here in a second about why they did that, which didn't really dawn on me till today. Why they want Kamala. There's another reason why they want Kamala, I think. But they set him up, and then the media pretends like this was the first time that they had ever seen any signs. Up until that moment, they thought he could run a marathon, and smell every kid's hair in the country. He could stay up all night smelling strangers' children's heads. We didn't know he was sick. He was smelling my daughter last night. He showered with all of my young relatives last night, perfectly fine and vigorous, and I had no idea. They do that, and then they push him out, and then they turn right around. They turn right around, and they start calling it a conspiracy again to think that Biden is sicker than they're telling us. Bravo to you cocksuckers for the audacity on that one. That's award-winning audacity right there. Now, before I get to what I hadn't thought of about why they might want Kamala in, this is Kamala ending her speech because she had a little extra spark to her. She was not too drunk during her speech. She was maybe just the right amount of drunk to go after Donald Trump and talk about how she used to put a lot of people in prison and how she knows Donald Trump's type, forgetting all the while that most of the people that she put in prison were black men, many of them on low-level marijuana charges that stayed in prison. People just don't know anything about Kamala Harris like her. By the way, Google Kamala Knights Templar, which I've done multiple shows on that. I'll do another one. But if she gets in this race and nobody asks her about that, for me, that's kind of all you need to know. All right, so here's Kamala going after Trump.
As many of you know, before I was elected as vice president, before I was elected as United States Senator, I was the elected Attorney General, as I've mentioned, of California. Before that, I was a courtroom prosecutor. In those roles, I took on perpetrators of all kinds.
She did. She sucked all of them up. I have to say, I want to pause it because I want to give Kamala credit. Usually Kamala is about to fall down and suck a D, the first one she can find, because she's had a couple of Ambien and at least 3 bottles of wine. But here, I feel like she's only about 3/4 of a bottle of wine and half an Ambien in because she knew the stakes are higher because it's her big day.
Predators who abused women. Fraudsters who ripped off consumers. Cheaters who broke the rules for their own gain. So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type. And in this campaign, I will proudly put my record against his. As a young prosecutor, when I was in the Alameda County District Attorney's Office in California, I specialized in cases involving sexual abuse. Donald Trump was found liable by a jury for committing sexual abuse.
So this is such a joke, this lie. Anybody who has looked into this indictment knows that this is a crazy woman who made up a story that could never actually happen, not because it's Donald Trump, but just the environment, which I won't go deep into it to derail, but the whole incident that she accuses Trump of sexually assaulting her happened in a department store dressing room where it's the most popular, like it's the busiest department store in the country. It's in New York City. It's in all of the movies. And it's always crowded up there, and you have to have someone let you in. But on the day that this happened, she claims that somehow nobody was up there and there was a door wide open. Sexual assault door, come right in. And also the judge in this case gave the jury instructions where he basically said, you can judge an assault as if he bumps her on the arm versus if he sticks his finger in her vagina. So he made it super broad to make it easy for them to come to this conclusion. And they made this law only retroactively that you could bring charges from 25 years in the past. For 1 year, they made it. It's just crazy. And this is the platform that these people run on. And by these people, I mean Kamala Harris.
As Attorney General of California, I took on one of our country's largest for-profit colleges and put it out of business.
Put it out of business.
Donald Trump ran a for-profit college,
she blew it
Trump
to death.
University, that was forced to pay $25 million to the students it scammed. As district attorney, to go after polluters,
I wish they had a camera on these audience members so we could see what they looked like. What do you guys think they look like?
created one of the first environmental justice units in our nation.
What did she just say? She just got a bunch of cheers and woos. There's obviously there's campaign plants out there who are signaling. We used to do this in comedy when somebody comes up who's newer and you want to help build their confidence. You sit in the back of the room and you start laughing, and it makes other people want to laugh, and it releases attention, and it makes the comic feel more confident. Nobody is going environmental justice. Woo, 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 woo. I mean, that's just so. It's gaslighting. This is Lizzo as a sex symbol type stuff.
Environmental justice units in it's scammed. As district attorney, to go after polluters, I created one of the first environmental justice units in our nation.
What the hell is that?
Donald Trump stood in Mar-a-Lago and told big oil lobbyists he would do their bidding for a $1 billion campaign contribution.
Whoa! Suck 'em. So, if somebody said to you, I created an environmental justice office, whatever, what would you guys envision that consisted of? A bunch of 19 and 20-year-old idiots that go into, duct tape their hand to a Van Gogh or throw paint on an oil exec. Like, what exactly does that thing that she created mean and do? I would love to know exactly what that was. I think we have a lot of room for creativity to make just things up because they make things up.
During the foreclosure crisis, I took on the big Wall Street banks and won $20 billion
She
for
sucked them all
California
off.
families, holding those banks accountable for fraud. Donald Trump was just found guilty of 34 counts of fraud.
Guilt. So she's got all of the. So the people, it's probably not a lot of people in that crowd. You're right. Who said there's 7 people in gesture suits? said Denver. That's probably true. I wish they did make them wear gesture suits. Denver says claims that the music Trump chose at the RNC was opera music playing during the Sum of All Fears as a bunch of foes. Political foes and diplomatic foes are being executed. I heard that too. That is interesting. You're talking about at the end of the RNC, right? After the speech and everything. Because I remember tuning back in and going, that's opera music is interesting. I don't know how anybody takes Kamala seriously personally. But Kamala, her husband, Dougie, which we're going to talk about, I can tell you, so Kamala's a terrible candidate, obviously. But there's a reason. There is a bigger reason than maybe it was obvious to other people. It probably was. But it wasn't to me until I was going through some of this. this is Dougie, which is related to why I think that part of the reason why they want Kamala to be the candidate is because of Dougie, Doug Emhoff, her gay pretend husband, who has seemed to me for quite some time to be the only sober person and the handler for definitely Kamala, but quite often Joe as well. And let me make sure I find the right clip I want to show you guys. Trump. Okay, so here's Doug Emhoff showing everybody how shattering any illusion that he's a heterosexual. Doug Emhoff clearing up any of that confusion right here in his introduction. He got to introduce his pretend wife, Kamala. What was that? What was that? What was that sound he just made? Watch this again. This is Kamala's husband. You're saying Doug. That's not this. That was not a sound that a heterosexual makes. That just came out of gay Doug Emhoff's mouth right there. And that's not the only news about old Dougie here. I'll let him give a little bit of the intro so you can hear his style.
Julie, thank you so much.
Julie,
I've known Julie a long time.
He talks with the
going back to her days working in Kamala's Senate office.
I mean, he talks with that progressive tone. I mean, the guy he's not stupid. I'm not saying he's stupid. I'm saying that he is probably more powerful than both Joe and Kamala.
And we put a lot of time together out on the road on the last campaign, and I can't think of anyone better to be leading this campaign. So thank you so much. You're the best.
Thank you so much. Peg me later.
I was just very emotional listening to President Biden just then. I was emotional before I heard that.
Yeah, he's
because of who he is, what he represents.
Hair colored right before
the dignity, the empathy. He's had my back personally. Some of my toughest moments as second gentleman.
He's back.
One, leaving the career that I loved. It was always the president who came up to me and said, "Look, I know, kid, you're a great lawyer. I know this must have been tough."
He was a big time entertainment lawyer in Hollywood, and he worked for a firm in D.C. And I'm going to get some of the specifics wrong, but it was a firm in D.C. that was helping out the Biden campaign, so he had to step down because of conflict of interest. He was one of the most powerful lawyers in Hollywood before him and Kamala met. So this isn't somebody who gave up his career. Okay, this is someone who had power, who shifted to a different, from L.A. to D.C.
But what better way to leave that than to support your wife, who you love so much, and your country that you love so much.
Yeah, and I love my wife's pussy. I love heterosex. I love hetero. I love getting pussy so much. I love it. Dick's gross. It's gross. Love vagina, bro.
And it's hard to believe it was about 4 years ago.
This is the
first time I came to Wilmington is when she got the call from President, then candidate Biden, to be on the ticket. And we came here the next day. We went to their home, and he said with Dr. Biden, "Welcome to the family.
Welcome.
You're now Biden's." And
get in the shower with my
they
daughter.
made us cookies.
And what say there?
And they called our kids. And they called my parents. This was day one 4 years ago. And now look where we are now. To have been able to serve as second gentleman with him as our president, Dr. Biden as our first lady. Unbelievable.
Dr. Biden. So he calls you Dr. Biden. It's you just have to say second gentleman. You have to say that. You have to say that with your head down. You can't be so proud about that. You can't say second gentleman with such pride and not be homosexual, in my opinion.
And now I get to support my wife, Kamala Harris, running for president of the United States.
Vagina I love vagina totally. True.
Let me tell you something.
Love it.
We are going to win this election. We're on the right side of every single issue. And we have this team right here and thousands of others all around the country. How do I know? Because I've been traveling all around the country and I've met them. We have an amazing team. You have done an amazing job, and you're going to continue to do that so we can elect Kamala Harris as the next president of the United States of America. So let's hear it for Kamala Harris.
Let's bring her out. No. I suck. Nah, Kamala doesn't suck a dick before I suck it first. Yeah. What if it's poisoned? I gotta test it for poison. I suck it all. I mean, this is not a real marriage. But check this out. So, Doug is also in the news today. He was featured on Drudge Report. And I've been talking about how this is going to happen because I did some research on old Dougie here a while back. And I knew this would come up if Kamala became the candidate because it fits perfectly. And now that I'm thinking about it, their power that they have, this Kamala Harris and gay Dougie Imhoff as the identity, their fuel for the identity politics campaign. They have what Joe and Jill Biden did not have, and they have the capability to implement the powers that be, their favorite divide and rule strategy that they've been using throughout time, which is identity politics. And this is what the story was, which was linked on Drudge. It was from, and the fact that it was linked on Drudge means they want everybody to look, they want people to look at it. But you can see that it says Biden's exit positions Doug Imhoff to become the first Jewish White House spouse. I don't like to get into all of that stuff on X and stuff where people start accusing the Jews of everything because I think it's people who are in power. Yeah, sure. A lot of them are Jewish, but also not all of them are. But Doug Imhoff, being a former entertainment lawyer, Jewish guy who is potentially now they're featuring it on Drudge with this article, the first Jewish White House spouse. It dawned on me the power of his identity politics combined with Kamala Harris's other angle of identity politics. It says in the article that since Imhoff came into the role in 2021, he has especially leaned into his position's Jewish aspects, from lighting a menorah in the official residence to focusing on anti-Semitism. And that's the focus on anti-Semitism. What that is to me is that is an attempt to manifest anti-Semitism because they call things anti-Semitism that aren't. It's just people who disagree with them. And so they call it anti-Semitism, which then you have feds and stuff go on these platforms who then start saying things against people like Imhoff going after the Jews, which can give rise and manifest anti-Semitism, which is exactly what they want. It's exactly what they want because it's the identity politics. And Imhoff, the article goes on to describe him. This is like crazy to me. Why would they even put this in here? They described his first date with Kamala. So he was divorced. They got married shortly before she ran in 2016. It was all a fake marriage. But Imhoff said that during their first date, according to him, Kamala reeled off her Jewish bona fides, including she talked about trips to Israel, fundraising for the Jewish National Fund as a teenager, and the fact that her mother worked for the Jewish General Hospital in Montreal when Harris spent her teenage years there. So can you imagine a 2 Ambien bottle of wine deep Kamala Harris on her first day going, yes, I promise. I have so many Jews. I'm fundraising for so many Jews. As a teenager, I love the Jews. I've sucked so many Jews. Sucked them. And Doug, like that's just such a strange thing to do. Don't you think, or am I wrong here? I mean, I've dated Jewish girls. I didn't sit down and be like, look at all this Jewish shit that I mean, I never crossed my mind to do that. I didn't even think about it. And what I wonder is, did Doug Emhoff, did he give Kamala his black bona fides? Did he spend the first date giving his black bona fides? I know plenty of black guys. My best friend is black. I have plenty of clients who are black who you put in prison for weed. I kind of doubt he gave his black bona fides. Which makes, I mean, is that not telling? Is that not like Kamala is begging for somebody to accept her? Please let me into your club, as opposed to the other way around. Because usually on a first date, it's more either even keel or it's a guy who goes too far in trying to impress the girl. And I mean, go too far by just talking too much or, trying to pump themselves up. But this sounds like Kamala just got there and was just like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I'm like, I might as well be Jewish. It's just a little strange. And they included that in this article, which they featured on Drudge. It's weird, dude. Which brings me to the point about all of that. And I've been telling people to look out for this. Trannies for Palestine will love him. Yes. Yes. They have all these cross sections of protesters where it's like you don't even know. And they don't even know. They just know they're supposed to protest. That's all a lot of these people know. And that's why they target young people. But what you have here with Kamala and gay Jewish Dougie is, as I said, the perfect duo to run an identity politics-fueled campaign that frames everything that Trump or the other side does, MAGA, whatever. They frame it all as anti-Semitic, racist, or sexist. There's not Nazis marching up the street. There's not Klan members marching up the street. There's not misogynists walking down the street just punching every pregnant woman in the stomach they can find. Not in any town I've been in anyway. I haven't been in any town. I haven't been in punch a pregger in the belly, Wisconsin. So I don't know what it's like there. But these things they try and manifest in their voters' eyes aren't actually real. But with Kamala and with Dougie, who both can be victims. And one of the things they talked about Dougie doing is promoting the anti-Semitism agenda. Like he was in charge of all of that, along with, let me light every menorah. I'm going to light every menorah. He's the gayest person you've ever met. And I'm going to shove it up my ass. I'm going to shove the fiery menorah up my ass. And then I'm going to pull it out and light it again. They have two people who can claim that everything that anybody says who opposes them is some sort of attack that is bigotry, racism, or anti-Semitism, which are those buzzwords that can attempt to divide and rule the population in the best way the elites love to do it, which is using those very things, because those are the things that people don't want to talk about. And those are the things that Joe Biden and Jill Biden could not do. Maybe that was actually the problem with Joe Biden. Maybe it wasn't his health that was the reason that they wanted to get rid of him. Maybe they got rid of him because Jill Biden is not black and she's a Gentile. And they had no identity politics angle, which is their biggest thread to pull. And now you can bring in Kamala, who's a pretend African-American. They never call her an African-American. They just know that people who don't look into her might assume that she is. She's black, not an African-American. Used to claim she was, Asian or whatever. I don't know what it was. She's full of shit. That's all I know. And then you have Dougie, who's the gayest person. So you can't even go after Doug because he's so fucking gay and weak that if you say a word about gay Dougie, you're abusing him. I mean, he's like words could literally make that guy fall down and never want to suck a dick again. He could be, oh my God, I'm so terrified. I never want to, which is very hard to do because he loves sucking dick. I mean, he loves sucking dick, obviously. but he's just so feeble, and he carries that anti-Semitism message. I think that's what they're doing. I think they're going to try and swing the populace and divide people because so many black people have kind of shifted towards Trump. Like it's kind of strange though. Kamala's talking about all the black people, even though she's not saying black people. She's talking about the people she put in prison, and she's talking about Trump. And it's like, oh, so are you saying Trump's black? Because that's who you put in prison, Kamala, is black people. I think they want to try and pry some of the black men who have leaned over to the right because of the bullshit the Democrats have done to them, back over that way to the Democrats using identity politics. And I think they want to scare the hell out of, Jewish people. I have Jewish friends who they feel scared because they watch too much news. Look, if anybody ever did anything to my buddies who are just like a cool dude, like one of my buddies was in his wedding. He's like the nicest guy. He's like one of the guys who I'm like, please marry my sister. Bonnie, if you're listening, if my buddy wouldn't have got married, I would have hooked you up with him. But he's just like the best guy ever. If anybody ever did anything to him, I mean, I'm like, nobody's going to fuck with him. But they're scared though, because they watch the media too much. They hear people like Doug Emhoff gaily tell people that they're coming for them. And I'm like, stop watching the shit and go outside and interact. And I think that's why they want Dougie there. And I don't think it's going to actually swing. If there's an honest election, I can't imagine that Trump wouldn't win. I personally am not voting. I'm a get out the don't vote person. Voting reinforces the system. If everybody didn't vote, then their system has no power. But I know that's not practical or reasonable. And I think they're trying to bring the identity politics back in to swing it back the other way. I don't think it's going to work. I think maybe they can try and steal it again. Obviously they will. And then that brings down the question of if they went after Trump once, if you believe that, a lot of people don't believe it's, some people think it's staged, and I'm open to arguments for anything. But if you believe that, then you would think that they would definitely steal it, or they would maybe send a J.D. Vance in to say, okay, you survived. The CIA is going to now be in your cabinet if you win, like JFK said, or RFK, excuse me. It's all so wild, man. It's you got to make fun of it, really. But that's it, because I was trying to wrap my head around why in the world they would want Kamala. But I think they want Kamala because they want Dougie. They want Kamala's blackness, and they want Dougie's Jewishness, and they want his intelligence, because he is a smart gay guy, very, very smart gay guy, who would love Kamala more if she had a penis. She would love Kamala if she were Big Mike. He daydreams about Big Mike. Maybe they swap. I don't know. Anyway, a couple more. I got a couple more stories here. I went a little bit longer on that than I wanted to. But, so my point exactly about how the identity politics stuff, because the identity politics shit, which Stacey Abrams was kind of like one of the main purveyors of, and Kamala obviously, but she wasn't really great at it recently. But they've already started to turn this into the identity politics thing, because it wasn't that. I mean, it was an old guy versus old white guy with an old white doctor, fake doctor, Jill. Jill Biden is a fucking bitch. I'm sorry. I don't like Jill Biden. She looks like a $9.99 vase from Marshall's, and she can go sit outside at a garage sale for all I care and sell for 25 cents with this bullshit. Jill Biden, can you imagine taking Jill? I mean, they do this whole pretend class at the school with Jill Biden. She shows up literally looking like a vase that you would either piss in or put dirty flowers in the cheapest fucking vase to go give to your girlfriend because you forgot something on like Valentine's Day. Here's Jill Biden with some flowers coming out of her. I don't like Jill Biden. And whenever somebody calls Jill Biden a doctor, I lose respect for them. Now I'm misogynist too. She looks good for her age. Don't get me wrong. They're already calling mispronunciations of Kamala's name. Do you guys know how to say Kamala's name? I've heard Kamala, and recently, and I'm not even talking about Judge Joe Brown or myself, they've been calling her Kamala. Are they baiting us? Kamala. I'm like, why is MSNBC calling her Kamala? Kamala. They have to be baiting us. I can't think of any other reason. Still want to get Judge Joe Brown on the show. Can you guys see that now? I put it up on the screen. Okay, so apparently it's a hate campaign to not say Kamala's name the right way, even though she said it different depending on the crowd she spoke to. Here is Mika Brzezinski, the woman who pegs Joe Scarborough.
And I've heard from inside Republican circles and right-wing media that the hate campaign against Kamala Harris has begun. You'll notice they purposefully pronounce her name wrong. They say Kamala. They do it all the time. It is on purpose. But the talk is to start that hate campaign and get it going and start it churning.
What a ridiculous thing. I mean, there's endless clips. I'm sure people will make montages of her calling her Kamala and other left-wing media calling her Kamala. But how did she pronounce it? Did she not say Kamala there? Let's hear that again.
And I've heard from inside Republican circles and right-wing media that the hate campaign against Kamala Harris has begun.
The hate campaign. And this is what I'm talking about. Everything is going to be a hate campaign. They want to make it. They have recognized, I think, that people have stopped caring about that. They've seen people saying the word fag on social media again, not meaning it towards a gay person, calling their buddy a fag. Gay people calling their straight friend stop being a fag. You know, that used to be a normal thing. You know, the N-word with the soft A being spoken on social media. They have seen this happen. They have seen people stop giving a shit about the trigger words that they tried to program people with. And I think they are trying to bring that back. It's not going to work unless they can harden enough of the population into this Bolshevik army mindset that enables them to steal an election and prevents people from recognizing it, which I just don't think that that's possible. But this is the ultimate divider since the beginning of time. And I hope that people resist it. I do. I mean, obviously I do. But this kind of shit is what can make you go into a work or a room with your black friend or your Jewish friend, and you get it in your head that, oh shit, are they going to think anything I do is this or that? And I'm going to start censoring myself and not saying anything. Or are they going to accuse me? People who I see that might be black or Jewish, even if I don't know them, maybe, are they going to say something? So everybody starts walking on eggshells. So people who are of those identities might start to presume that white people are going to start doing hateful things towards them because the media has programmed it, and white people are going to start thinking that Jewish and black and anybody else are going to presume that anything that they do is some sort of hate thing. That's what this is designed to create. And we have to, seriously, we got to see through that shit because people have kind of like broken free from that shit. And it's great. It's amazing. It takes all their power away. Like, if you can take away the power of identity politics that they have over us, I mean, that is very crippling to the elites. I mean, this is their biggest weapon that they're pulling out, which says something to me. And let's render that motherfucker useless. So this actually brings the question, which I didn't even address this yet, of is Kamala even going to be the candidate? I think after that, honestly, I think with Dougie, I think he's the reason. I think that pairing, I think that was the whole goal. So I think she's absolutely the candidate now. And I would have put a lot more money on predictit.org than I did had I thought about this before. But I think she's definitely. Now, has she actually won the candidacy yet? Well, CNN says, or Jake Tapper said that she's the presumptive nominee. You can say that now. And they say they have something called a delegate estimator, which is brand new. CNN's got let's go to our delegate estimator. I mean, what the fuck is a delegate estimator? They might as well just cut to Brian Stelter, sucking. It's just so stupid, the shit they come up with. We've got our brand new specialist delegate estimator here. He sucks the solution. He sucks the answers out of the dick of the big board, and it tells us how many delegates are going to go to Kamala. And their delegate estimator says that Kamala has all of the delegates she needs, and she is the nominee. And this is the headline they present. Even though that's not true, it's completely untrue. Because all of the delegates that CNN says that she has won and assures that she's the candidate are based on statements that they presumed, that they analyzed and presumed to be endorsements, some of which aren't actually endorsements. And the VP for the DNC says that as it stands, no candidate has secured a majority of delegates to the convention. And the committee chair pledged that the party is committed to an open and fair nominating process. Apparently, other candidates still have until the end of the week to meet all the requirements to get into the race. Here's the requirement to get into the race, I think. I think if you're going to get into the race like Gavin Newsom, he's going to need to get him like a black, disabled, really fucking fat Jewish wife. Then we bring Gavin and we say, you're out, Kamala. We got somebody better on the intersectionality, identity politics level. Like one of those motherfuckers needs to marry Lizzo stat if they want to get in. That's probably, I mean, I don't think anybody's going to be able to come in with a better identity politics attack campaign than Kamala. But they're giving people the opportunity to try. Closing up here, and then I'll look at some of the comments, is yesterday I showed you guys the crying contest between Van Jones and Chris Coons over their love for Biden, where they were both trying so very hard to cry. Made me think of this episode of Friends years and years ago where Joey would go on auditions and try to cry. And it's you got to be in the right. I mean, you really got to work some shit up to cry on command. And he couldn't do it. And so he had little tweezers in his pocket and he would just pinch his balls and make his eyes tear up. And he got the part. I feel like Chris Coons and Van Jones could have used some tweezers to pluck the hair out of their balls while they were attempting to cry because they weren't getting the tears up. They could have done a better job for Joe, for all respectful, just decent, kind, empathetic, not at all racist, not at all creepy, definitely never showered with his teenage daughter, Joe. I mean, such a great guy. But today, after that crying contest, we actually have the cringiest tweet about the same subject of how great Joe Biden is that you're ever going to see. And this tweet, believe it or not, is actually gayer than the sound that you heard come out of Doug Emhoff's mouth. Did I say mouth? Mouth a moment ago. And it comes from, I'm going to show you, it comes from one Jon Stewart, who I'm a fan of. I think Jon Stewart's a funny guy. I think he's a little, I think he sometimes does a good job making fun of both sides. A lot of times he's a little gay about it. But he went full Doug Emhoff with this tweet where after hearing that Biden stepped down, he took to X to say but one word: legend. Legend. Can you imagine that? Legend. Joe Biden announces, he hides behind a computer screen, or whoever did it for him, that he is going to not run he's going to drop out of the race. Hiding behind a computer screen, he makes this historic announcement. And when you find this out, that your commander-in-chief decided to make a historic announcement that he will drop out of the race at a later point in time than any other candidate ever, incumbent candidate has in history, and you see that. And Jon Stewart's first thought was, fucking legend. That was, what? It must not take much for Jon Stewart to think you're a legend to do that. He must think Jeffrey Toobin's a legend. He masturbated behind a screen. He blew it all over every CNN coworker behind a screen. That's legend. Jon Stewart. Doug Emhoff must have a lot of compromised material on Jon Stewart. I don't know how people, how somebody is compelled to tweet something so gay. That is the stupidest thing I've ever seen. He doesn't think that that's legendary. He's a comedian. Comedians think stuff like that is stupid unless they're being paid to think otherwise. He's getting a paycheck, in my opinion, to pretend to think that that's legendary. That's not legendary. Oh, it's legendary. The legend of when the sitting president behind a computer screen posted a letter to a social media platform that's known for trolling and Titty Tuesdays, telling the country that he will be stepping down. Legend. They're telling about the George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, all of the legends throughout history. Then you get to Joe Biden. Boy, he stayed inside. He didn't show his face for weeks. Legendary. Maybe I just can't understand that. I just can't understand. I could never make myself tweet something like that unless I'm being just obviously sarcastic. All right, my favorite part of Twitter today. Nate says Black Caucus also threatened the summer of love. Yeah, no, that's what they like to. They look for those identity politics wedges. That's the best wedge they have. Realm Delver says Gillis and his hook. Yeah, well, I think that, I don't get it. I don't think that it's I think it's powerful people. Yeah, a lot of powerful people happen to be Jewish people, but there's also a lot of Jewish people that aren't. And I think it's powerful people. Trannies for Palestine, that one. But no, I do. I think that if Jill Biden had been Jewish and or black, I think it would have helped Joe stay in the race. You never go full Emhoff, says Steve. Yeah, you never go full Emhoff. Yeah, because you don't know how that's a lot of dick to take in your orifices at one time. He's the gayest man alive. His kids have to be test tube babies. Steve also says Chris Christie is not a fat pig and Doug is not a flaming homosexual, referencing when Trump does his speeches and he says, I saw a beautiful woman. You can't look at people for physical beauty. I saw a guy at a rally. He told me, he said, Chris Christie's a fat ass. I said, Chris, you can't say that. Chris Christie is not fat. He's not obese. He's not disgusting. You can't say that. And Doug Emhoff, he does not suck dozens and dozens of D. Dr. Jill Biden. I wonder if Jill makes her community college students, if she has any real ones. They say she teaches at a community college. Can you just sign up for that class? Because community college, most people can just, like any of us, for most community colleges, could go register and take whatever community class we wanted if we wanted to and paid for it. Can you do that with Jill? Because if there's anybody up there, like if I lived up there, I would definitely take Jill's class if I could. And I would fail it because all I would do is ask her about how she's a propagandist in the Biden family, and the granddaughter they never see. Is your granddaughter going to have to take this 5-year-old going to have to take this class in like 13 years to see her grandmother, her step grandmother, of course. You're not Hunter's mother. Are you sleeping with Hunter? I might ask her. It's not appropriate. Well, okay. Well, they're not appropriate. They're cocksuckers. So enough of that. All right, finally, my favorite part of Twitter today, of X. Did you guys see this? Did you guys see Montel Williams pushing back? Montel Williams. So people were calling him, talking about the side chick stuff, and they debunked the side chick narrative, which I call a president side chick. But apparently Montel Williams has been getting people kicked off of X because he's reporting people who are referring to Kamala as president's side chick and tagging him in these posts. And there were stories today about how the MAGA slur about Kamala being a side chick has reemerged. And then they debunk it where they're like, in the photo where they say she's the side chick, the other girl is actually Montel Williams' daughter. And it's like, I don't know if you really debunk the side chick thing, because we'd have to go through who Montel Williams was also sleeping. Because that's, to me, is what this was. Is Montel Williams was hot. Like, he was a star in that day. Banging a lot of chicks, probably. And that happened to be the night that Kamala was a side chick. But Kamala also banging a lot of dudes, probably. I mean, that dude, Willie, from California, who's still alive, apparently. The politician who she screwed, who helped her all the way through California politics. He's 90 years old. He's 10 years older almost than Joe Biden. And she was screwing that. She was hook-to-ing that guy to get to the top. And he is still promoting her. So maybe there's still a little bit going on. I mean, we know she ain't getting it from Doug. But they debunk it as though that, like, Kamala's not a slut who slept her way to the top, because that was actually Montel Williams' daughter in that photo with her. Case closed. I don't think that really clears up what they think it does. But Montel Williams went on the defense today, probably because somebody alerted him about this in these articles, and people were probably tagging him. And so look at this on this thing here. I saw him just getting hot at people earlier. Like, he got Laura Loomer blocked him. Let me make that a little smaller there. Laura, I don't know what the dispute was, but he says Laura Loomer blocked me, and he called her a snowflake. And Montel had some pretty sick burns, okay? Like, he did his research. Somebody did research for him. He went after Cat Turd. Where's Cat Turd? I don't know what the Cat Turd one is. But at one point, he's asking who Cat Turd is. And he then obviously found out some information about Cat Turd, because I remember him posting this. And maybe Montel's making up some of it, but he's like, oh, didn't Cat Turd get drunk and kill his dog by running over it? And then he started posting, you should really seek help. And he did the same thing to Laura Loomer. Like, I don't know. He must have got to him. And, to his credit, he must have really touched a nerve for them to block him. He also was able to get, and I'll show you this photo, because there was a shirt going around, and he got after them because he doesn't want this shirt selling, which they can just change the actual name. So there's some people selling a shirt that said Montel Williams side piece 2024. And Montel didn't like that. So maybe they can just spell his name wrong and be fine. But they ended up taking the shirt down. I don't know what the legalities of that is. I really don't know. Like, I don't know that that's illegal. Maybe. Yeah, I don't know the law on that. But he was just aggressive in his attack, which is crazy because people have been talking about this for years, that he just now started going after people. And he retweeted this thing where the governor of, I guess the state he lives in, endorsed. She didn't endorse. That's what the story says. He didn't actually endorse her. They keep saying these people endorsed Kamala when they actually just said nice things about her. But like Newsom and Whitmore haven't actually endorsed Kamala. They have said nice things about her without actually endorsing her. Well, the media has said they endorsed her because maybe they're trying to manifest a reality. And they're too white and Karen-like to maybe bring in. They don't have a Lizzo spouse yet. Like if Gretchen Whitmore started scissoring with Lizzo, she's in. She's in. Play that flute, America, America, out of Lizzo's pussy. They're in if she starts scissoring with Lizzo. But right now, that's not happening. So, yeah, the tweet was that Wes Moore, who's a governor, I don't know of what state, said nice things about Kamala. And then Montel Williams retweeted it, and the people started saying, oh, so you're endorsing Kamala? And he actually backtracked and said, I just retweeted this thing where he said nice things about her. So it seems like he's not endorsing her, which makes me think that he's not trying to get that White House booty call on lockdown. But we'll see. He actually said he would endorse that Wes governor guy, Wes Moore, when Biden first stepped down, but he's never said anything about Kamala. So it's almost like he doesn't. So it's almost like he's not defending Kamala, but he's trying to make people like separate himself from her is what it kind of feels like. I don't know. Whatever, dude. It's good to see him. I thought Montel Williams was dead, honestly. I didn't realize he's still alive. I'm glad he's still alive. It's Maryland. Thank you, Nate. That's correct. Biden identified as the first black woman VP. Yeah, they are. It's just, this is just wild what's going on. It's like every day it gets a little bit crazy. I mean, even crazier. It's been crazy for years, but it's to a point where it's, if you pitched a script about what's going on, the producers would say nobody would believe this. No, this is way too out there. You need to bring it back in and ground it. They'd be like, not every black woman is married to a gay Jewish guy. What are you talking about? Shot in the ear? What are you talking about? Biden he's been basically brain dead for 4 years, and they covered up and then pretend they didn't. What are you talking about? No, you need to write a better script and come back. But now it's to the point where people believe whatever script they write. It doesn't matter. Not everybody. A small, select group of people. It is refreshing to me that when I went to this July 4th festival and I talked to a lot of people and asked them about these news stories, that they had never heard of them. Most of them, nobody had ever heard of Jeffrey Toobin. Nobody had ever heard of Ashley Biden. That is something they should know if they're going to vote for Joe. But the fact that they were not so tuned in to all these crazy-ass stories as a lot of us who are always following the news are, to me, it was refreshing. It tells me that what they try and convince us reality is through our screens is not even close to what reality actually is. And there was actually a lot of people that were very hopeful and super cool about America. And Gretchen Whitmore, says Steve, is the governor. Oh, you live in Michigan. Yeah, doesn't she still pretend like she was a subject to a kidnapping plot? Where the guys got, didn't a couple of them get put in jail for a little while, and then the other ones they were acquitted because the FBI entrapped them? was listening to an interview from one of those guys recently. And they do that all the time. That's like what the FBI kind of does. You know? Which is weird because I remember when I was in law school, I was like, oh, it might be cool to be an FBI agent. And I think that's probably why most people go into the FBI. I don't think they go into it to, I really want to entrap some dumb idiots. I'm going to be an FBI agent. I don't think that's their thinking. But I think they probably get, I think they get kind of psyoped as much as the people who become the victims of some of their plots. No, it's just the simplistic way of looking at all this to me is, yeah, Fed Fest. It's all a fucking Fed Fest. It is that divide and rule is the basic. I mean, there's a lot of different strategies of manipulation, especially since modern society has given all of these different forms of instant communication. But when you boil it down, the fundamental level is divide and rule. It's turn us against our fellow Americans using whatever mechanisms possible, usually some sort of identity politics. That's their go-to. Or wedge issues in politics like abortion and all that. And there are definitely legitimate differences that people have, but these are the things they use. But identity politics are the strongest one. And without that, we all realize that they're just trying to con us, and they're terrified because there's so many more of us than there are them. And maybe this is an optimistic view of this, but maybe that is actually why they are putting Kamala and Doug in, is because they feel like they need to recapture that division, that 2017 like division, 2018. I remember in 2017 stories that still have, I cut all these clips just to save them, where it was like a Jewish cemetery, a tombstone was destroyed, and there was spray paint all over, Nazi swastikas all over it, and MAGA Trumpers did it. And then even Michael Moore going on MSNBC saying, to the suggestion that some are making on the right that this was done by a leftist trying to set them up is just ludicrous. And then like 3 weeks later, they caught the person who did it, who was a communist black guy. Same thing with a church that burned down years ago. It was, a lot of, some stories are definitely legit, but this is why everything should be investigated. And they need us to hate each other. So how about we just don't hate each other? When they need us to be emotionally charged and against each other, the best protection from that, which is their main tactic throughout the history of time, is to give each other the benefit of doubt, take a breath, and realize that we're all fucking subject to it, and we can defeat them. We just got to come together, brothers and sisters. Terror Factory 101, yeah, totally. Yeah, one didn't plead guilty and one got off. Yeah. The FBI, yeah, the FBI, Grumpy Gnome says they tried to kidnap a governor, and Nate says unburdened by what has been. I can't wait to hear that. Unburdened by what has been. We should. LP Georgia says Grumpy Gnome had a great post about how communists have tried to divide us using race baiting. Race baiting is disgusting. It's like the lowest form of division. It's so racist because it always the people doing the race baiting are doing it in a way that presumes that minorities are incapable of doing anything for themselves. And it makes people who genuinely think, like progressives, because I know people like this, who think that they have to help minorities. I need to give them my platform, or I need to stop racists from doing an open mic because these minorities can't help themselves if me, a white person, doesn't help them. That is so racist. I mean, fuck you. I would think that black people or minorities, the people I know anyway, would be like, dude, fuck you, dude. I remember when there was an ad where somebody's talking about how's Trae Young going to get a driver's license and be able to vote? How is Trae Young, the point guard for the Atlanta Hawks, he's too stupid to get a driver's license and vote? I mean, this was an actual ad from a couple of years ago. But it was done by a Stacey Abrams group, if I recall correctly, and a black person was a spokesperson. So people didn't go, aren't you assuming that they're dumb? I hate it, dude. It's so, doesn't it feel sometimes, and like maybe everybody feels this way. This might be confirmation bias on my part, but you just feel like you look around a world where you feel like you're being reasonable and logical, and other people who seem to think they are just saying the most ridiculous clown shit you've ever heard. And like, you want to shake them and just point them towards the light at the brim of the cave. But you can't, it's like, follow me to the light. But before you even get 10 steps, they've already accused you of being a racist and a bigot and their swarm of progressives. This is online. This isn't real life. All right, I'm done. I don't need to keep rambling anymore. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Always appreciate you guys hanging out. I hope that was valuable. I really do think that's why they put Kamala in. Maybe I should have started the show with that nugget, but the other option for me is like they know she's going to lose, and so they'll throw her in there. I do think Joe might step down and make her the first president, which will make him, Imhoff, the handler in chief, essentially. Do you guys think, after what we talked about today, knowing what we know about Imhoff, that it makes it more likely that Kamala could actually beat Trump? I mean, they can rig it. They have all these things set in place. They have the mail problems in Georgia and other states that they kind of have in waiting. But knowing that, because a lot of people, and there's definitely a lot of evidence that, Trump, they say, it was the best to Israel and whatever. And you have a J.D. Vance, which I'm not a J.D. Vance fan. But then you have kind of the same flip side of the same coin with Imhoff over here with Kamala. I don't know, man. I don't know. I hope you guys have a wonderful Tuesday. And I'm going to be back either later tonight or tomorrow with hopefully a couple of special guests that we haven't had before. I need to confirm it so I won't spill it. Yeah, massive gaslighting, says Michael. But I will be going to the Bitcoin conference on Thursday through Saturday with Josh, Fake Trump, and Jake is going to be there from Liberty Libations. And if you guys have any, what we're going to be doing there is I'm going to be interviewing people who do things that I understand. I've talked to a lot of people who, the PR people of some of the speakers and stuff, and they're like, this person is going to be doing this new blockchain euro. Like, it's like Chinese to me, and I don't understand it. But there's a handful of people that are doing things that I get that I'm going to speak with. And hopefully, if we're lucky, we'll be able to interview some of the other big names that are going to be there. But I don't know if we will or not. But we are going to be in Nashville. And we do have cameras, and that's where all those man on the street videos happen that can kind of go viral. Hooktua, not just her, but other ones. There's a lot of drunk people in Nashville is what I'm saying. So if you guys have any suggestions about something entertaining or questions you might want us to pose during some sort of man on the streets, hit me up at Freedom Act Radio on X or in the comments of these videos, and we'll do them. Yeah, we're going to try and have some fun with the limited time that we have there, and then we will bring it back and post it. All right, y'all. See you guys. Find Bitcoin Ben. Will he let you on? I'll look for him. Yeah, I'll look for him. I'm not sure who he is, but I'll look for him. It's going to be wild. Trump's supposed to speak. I don't know how it's going to work. I emailed them today. I don't mean to keep going. Maybe somebody listening has answers to this. He's going to be there. I emailed them about this. So when I went to the Trump speech at the Libertarian Convention in D.C., we had to get there 4 hours early. We had to pour all our water out. I mean, the security was crazy. The security actually followed us around because my friend was dressed as Trump. And they thought he was going to be subversive. He wasn't. He loves Trump. But they have all these talks scheduled around when Trump's supposed to speak. And I don't know. Like, I emailed them wondering if you're going to have to be in there 4 hours early and stuff like that. It's probably going to be like crazy security, or maybe it'll be no security at all. One thing we're thinking about doing is my buddy's going to dress up as Trump, and I'm going to dress up as just a completely flippant Secret Service agent who pays no attention to him. And Jake, if we can coordinate, maybe help us film it. It'll be fun. All right. We'll see you guys. PropagandaFight.com. Have a fantastic rest of your day.